today's lesson, you will learn what a corresponding angle is, and by the end of the lesson, you should be able to find unknown angles in a shape using corresponding angles. So let's start with some revision of parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that are always an equal distance apart. Two parallel lines will never meet. So we can see here that there's arrows on these lines. Usually there are arrows on parallel lines to indicate that they're parallel. Drawing a line through two parallel lines forms a F shape, like so. Now if we think about the angle tucked under the top parallel line of the F shape, that angle is exactly the same as the angle tucked under the bottom parallel line in the F shape. The two yellow angles correspond, and this means that they are equal, so that's why they were corresponding angles. Now there is more than one F shape formed when drawing a line through two parallel lines, so if I take the exact same shape as before, we can see that this is a backwards F here. We also have an upside down F here, and we also have an F shape here. So there's lots of different shapes formed here that we could find corresponding angles in. Okay, so we can see in example 1 we're asked to use 3 letters to name the corresponding angles. Angle NAP, this angle here, corresponds to angle TPQ, this angle here. And B, angle KLM, this angle here, corresponds to angle LNO, this angle here. In example 2, we are asked to mark the angles that correspond to the angles already marked. So, if I highlight this F shape, I can see that the angle tucked under here must be identical to the angle tucked under here, which tells me that this angle here is also X. In this shape here, we need to find the F angle that green circle is tucked into. So I can see the F shape forming here, which means that green circle corresponds down here. Okay, we are now asked to write down the size of the marked angles. So, if this angle is 76, using this F shape, I can also say that P is 76 degrees. And using this F shape here, I know that that angle must be the same as that angle, so I can also say that R is 68 degrees. Okay, so now we are going to look at filling in missing angles in a shape. What we need to remember here is that vertically opposite angles are always the same. So in an X shape, opposite angles are identical. So let me start by using this bit of knowledge. So I can find an X shape here. Using this X shape, I can fill in that across from the 120 must also be the 120. Next, I'm going to focus on this F shape here. So it's an upside down F. Now that tells me that if the 120 is sitting on top of the parallel line here, it also must be sitting on top of the parallel line down here. So that must also be 120. And again, I can use vertically opposite angles to fill in the 120 here. Next, I'm going to go on to supplementary angles, so angles in a straight line. I know that angles in a straight line add up to 180 degrees, so I'm going to do 180, take away 120 to give me 60 degrees, which tells me that this in here must be 60 degrees. Using X angles, this one opposite must also be 60 degrees. Going back to my F angles, I can see an F shape here, which tells me if 60 is tucked under the parallel line down here, it must also be tucked under the parallel line up here. And using vertically opposite angles, I can fill in 60 here, which means I've now filled in all missing angles. In example 5, it's a bit of a different shape, but it's the same thing we're being asked to do. Let me again start with my vertically opposite angles. So if I start here with an X, I can fill in that 84 must also be here. Using an F angle, I can spot an upside down F shape here. If 112 sits on top of the parallel line here, it must also sit on top of the parallel line here. Using another F angle, I can see an F shape forming here. If 84 is sitting on top of the parallel line up here, it must also be sitting on top of the parallel line down there. Okay, on to straight lines then. I can spot a straight line down here. So if I do 180, take away 84, that gives me 96, which means that this angle in here must be 96 degrees. Using an F angle, I can also fill in 96 up here, and using an X angle, I can fill in 96 here. On the other side of the shape, I have another straight line here. 112 is part of that, so I'll do 180, take away 112, which gives me 68 degrees. 68 degrees goes in here. By F angles, it goes up here too. By X angle, it goes here, and by X angle, the 112 can also go in here. That is me now filled in every missing angle in this shape.